experience at Youth.Prt Limited.
Good. I think let's dive right into what we are supposed to talk about today, and I believe we shall start by asking you to preferably tell us about what is Youth.Prt and what's the goal and mission of Youth.Prt.
Oh, well, Youth.Prt Limited is a Tier 4 microfinance that is regulated by the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. What we can say about Youth.Prt is we are very determined to help the youth and bridge that gap between financial services and where the gap really is in the market for them to be able to acquire these finances and do what they want to do with their lives.
Wow, that's quite interesting. That has made me think about Patience, if you don't mind, like, do you feel, okay, there is a huge gap between the young entrepreneurs and them accessing finances. Yeah. What would you say maybe is the problem? Aren't we good at maybe bringing up the ideas that are catchy for people to invest in our businesses, or there are other problems?
I actually don't think the problem is so much the ideas. I think there has been so much stigma around the youth and acquiring these financial services. And to build more on that, most young people are not really knowledgeable about these services being open to them anyway. So it's like you are fresh out of campus, you're thinking to yourself, oh, I have no security, and if I need to get money, I need security. And if I do have the security, what options do I have? Am I in a place to actually pay back this money? So, there is that gap that is specifically caused by lack of information. And the beauty with Youth.Prt is that we have a team of a core team that really has over 60 years experience in this financial sector. So you don't just come to Youth.Prt and they tell you, oh, you need money, just take money. No. This is a team that will sit down with you and offer you guidance, offer you advisory options, really. So we explore more than just security and you taking money. We'll look at the person, understand what does this person need to do, where do they want to go, and Youth.Prt will want to grow with you at the same time. So it won't be a one-off situation. It will be a relationship model, really, where we'll want to understand where does this person want to go and how can Youth.Prt step in that gap. In that, even if we see that your idea is really good, really brilliant, even as Youth.Prt, we can offer to be your client as well, so that you have a starting point as you build on what you want to do.
Wow. So Clinton, maybe I should ask you this. Don't you feel like, as we're talking about finances, it goes hand in hand with the financial literacy, which we lack as the young people. What do you have to say about that?
I was talking to, was it you or Martha? We're talking about financial inclusion, and at the same time we're talking about how, she mentioned how the knowledge kind of part is still a problem, where people still don't have information. I was discussing that today morning when I was telling her that the youth are interested in accessing financial products and services, but the information, they don't have access to information. Where do I get my loans from? And I was also telling her at the same time that the youth today are not risk takers. They're not, they don't have that confidence to walk into Youth.Prt, for example, and get a loan of worth preferably maybe 5 million and above. You understand? And even if they were to get the 5 million from Youth.Prt, for example, as a loan to build their business, they need collateral security. They need something that is going to definitely defend them as potential borrowers. But then at the same time, we have a challenge of youth not having information on what could be the requirements, first of all, Two, and they have businesses that are not bankable in nature. You understand? They're not bankable in nature. You find a youth who is out there, they have a very good idea, but they lack how to draft it up into a business model. They lack a business plan, for example. So all this disqualifies them from getting access to financial products and services. So my question would be, what should be done from the point of information dissemination? Youth.Prt should come out and say, what, we have these services, but how loud they are is what is very important. How loud you go out there and be like, we have these to offer you to help you, boost up your business, to upscale your business. We have these services that can actually help you be a better entrepreneur. I think to me, Samali, that's what is lacking. What do you think?
I don't think someone should, first of all, say there is no information, because the internet is there. So it comes back to people becoming financially serious at an early age and making their choices. You get that point? But also, I think young people shouldn't think small, because the moment someone is thinking small, they just think that maybe I'll sell this and like that, and they're not investing more in making sure they have a bank account for their business. They are taking RSP, they get a TIN number, they get a business plan. Because of course, even if FinFort approached you and you don't have all those things, I don't think I'd really give you my money. I don't know. So what are some of the challenges you faced as FinFort Uganda trying to provide financial solutions to young people?
Well, as FinFort, we find usually problems when you are trying to talk to clients that you feel sort of like you see their potential more than they see it in themselves. I think, like you're saying, that in as much as we are trying to do financial inclusion for basically people who are in the bottom tier of the financial sector, you still find that there is a lot of stigma that comes with what perception people have about financial institutions in general. So you probably approach someone and their first perception is, oh, I fear you people, you will come and take my land, So it's that whole perception that all financial institutions are the same, and if maybe even if I do have my security and I give it to them, the next thing they think about is the only option I have is these people are going to take my security, right? So they are thinking more about what I am going to do as opposed to what they are going to do or what they need to achieve. So I think the major challenge that we face as a company is how to address that stigma that comes with the impact that other financial institutions before us have left.
Okay, I have a question. One of your financial services, do you provide loans?
Yes, we do.
If I fail to pay that loan, don't you actually come for my land?
That is the last resort. For FinFort Limited specifically, that is a last resort. We have so many other options in place that we explore before we actually go to that. So when someone fails to pay, of course, we'll first probably try to reach out to you, or maybe reach out to a next of kin, try to call you in, find out what's happening. Because, you have to, in a relationship mode, you have to understand your client. So you have to understand what could have gone wrong. We are all human beings and life can happen. So I can take the money today and I am very well capable of paying that money back. But something unfortunate happens. Maybe in a week or 2 weeks later, my mom has cancer and I need to divert my funds to take care of my mom, or I lose someone, So if I'm running a relationship model and I call you and I ask, oh, you've not paid your installment, what's happening? And I get to understand that maybe something that was out of your control has happened to put you in a setback position, then we'll have to explore something else and say, can we restructure this to something that's maybe more affordable for you? What do you feel you can afford to pay? How do you feel you can afford to pay back? We have a conversation around that and come up with something that probably can suit you as a client without putting financial strain on your wallet.
Well, before they come for Samali's land, I wanted to ask, what are the requirements at FinFort for someone that is watching that needs this knowledge? What are the requirements needed for one to acquire resources from FinFort?
Well, the requirements are not that difficult. They're actually quite easy. The unfortunate bit is if I answered that question directly, I would be tying the clients down. But what I can say is FinFort does run more of a relationship model. And by that, I mean that when a client says they need funds for something, the first priority is to understand what the client needs. Now that can mean a wide range of things. You could be a salary earner, in which case I would need to know, oh, where do you work? I need to confirm that you are working where you say you're working. Maybe you could just simply be a business owner, and I need to understand, do you have a business in place? If so, can I look at the business, see how much money is coming in? So really it depends more on the client. So we would first meet the client, understand who is this person, what do they want to do, and then the requirements thereafter come in after we have understood the client specifically.
Do you like welcome even these people that have no security at all? Like, I just need some money to start up a small thing right there, yeah.
Yes, there is flexibility with Finfort Limited. There is flexibility that even if you specifically don't have security, we can explore a wide range of options. One of the things that we have learned as Finfort is there are clients that you will have that have all the right things on paper, right? So you will find this client, maybe they have security, they have bank statements that look good and all of that. So on paper, they look like the perfect client, right? But when it gets to time to pay back that money, they become a complete stress, right? And then you'll meet someone else. They don't have maybe the security that you would want, right? But they have character, right? They have character that they will pay back without you even calling them. You know, even when they have something, they will communicate in advance and say, maybe I'm having this and this problem, but you will have your money by this date, you know, which is why we, like I said before, we prefer to meet the client face to face, get to understand them, because there are a lot of things that you would learn. You'd be surprised that you can learn just from meeting someone and having an interaction and engagement with them. Yeah.
What are some of the financial solutions you're providing to the young people? And have you created a docket for young people specifically, well knowing they're struggling with capital?
And actually, before you, please mark that question, because what I'm going to ask is also in light with what she's saying. We want to understand what solutions do you provide, as she has mentioned. But then at the same time, we want you to also to tell us exactly how, because we also know that Finfort is not the only organization that is actually giving out financial protection services in Uganda. We believe, so we want to understand the uniqueness of Finfort. How unique is Finfort out there? What differentiates Finfort from any other financial institution in Uganda? Yeah, something like that.
That is a great question, Clinton. You know, most financial institutions will have basically, I would say, the same line of products. So we really have, I would say, the same product line that everyone else runs, which is the business loans, the salary loans, the back-to-school loans, home development loans. What Finfort specifically has tried to do to stand out or be unique, if I would say it like that, is come up with a way to understand what is going wrong in the financial sector and how we can fix it. Like I said earlier, we have a core team that has over 60 years of experience.
60 years?
Over 60
Does that mean
does
mean that Finfort has been in existence for 60 years?
No. I mean the core team itself, which is more than 4 people. Their combined experience is over 60 years, yeah. Which means they have worked both in and outside the country in the financial sector. So they have seen what banks do, what other financial institutions do, what's wrong with them, where is the problem, and Finfort is trying to bridge in that gap. And the first thing I would talk about is flexibility, like we said from the start. Being flexible is very, very key. Very key. Why? Because you'd see when you go to other traditional financial sectors, the chances of them listening to your story of, I don't have security, but you know this and this and this, on a scale of 1 to 10 is close to none, right? Which is very different from Finfort. For Finfort, we want to understand the client. We want to see how can we help you. Is there any way we can help you? Like really, we want to explore all options until there is no option, right? On top of that, we have sort of come up with a way to package products that specifically target the group that is at the bottom tier of the financial sector, which is what, surprisingly, the women and the youth. The even more unfortunate bit is, as we talk about women and youth, there are women that are in the youth, you know? So you find that we are in really a now changing environment where we are finding more and more females in taking up leadership positions, right? Both at home and at work, and they can actually afford to take on these financial services, but they're not being included, right? So FinFort has specifically come up with a product that gives these people better rates, better solutions, basically inclusion without feeling left out. Yes.
Yes, Madam Babas, you haven't yet answered my question. My question is, what are those solutions? Do they come in form of loans, mortgage? What is it?
Well, our solutions come mainly in form of loans. Yeah, so it all goes back to how we structure your loan, right? Which comes with a wide range of solutions. It can be ease, it can be turnover time. To elaborate and make more sense to you is, you know, the whole process of getting money in a traditional setting is very, very stressful, right? You can even go months and months on end waiting for them to maybe give you something as simple as feedback of am I getting the money or not, right? Which is not the case with FinFort. If you walk into FinFort today, right, and you discuss what you want to do, you'll have feedback. Probably latest by end of day you'll know, are they going to give me money, are they not going to give me money, and if they are, what do I need to do, and all of that. You know, so there is that ease that comes with FinFort Limited. There is that quick turnover time that comes with FinFort Limited. Quick turnover time being that you will have the money within the time period that you need it. You know, because you know people have different needs. So if you're dealing with youth that maybe want to do trade, right? Things like trade can be very tricky, or even just contract. You can have a contract and you know I need to get it done maybe in 5 days, right? And if you went to a bank, their process might drag out for probably even a month. Now, if your deadline is 5 days and you get money after a month, really you have already exceeded what you would need the money for. Now, the money is really at this point not important. But with FinFort Limited, if you discuss clearly, I need the money maybe in 5 days to solve this and this problem, you will have it even in less than 48 hours. So you're achieving what you want to do.
Okay, what I wanted to mean, there you see Stanbic, there you see KCB, there are banks, or maybe the insurance companies. So you people as part of the financial sector, what kind of institution are you?
It's a microfinance.
Okay, microfinance. So you're like
non-deposit taking.
non-deposit.
Taking microfinance.
Okay,
I
okay.
have a practical question for Brania. Do you think you would actually walk into FinFort right now? Okay, not right now, maybe like next week. And then anytime, in your free time. And preferably get a loan from them. And
Yes.
without any fear.
Yes. From
Really?
what Patience has explained, yes. And speaking about the fear, guys, there is a huge negative mentality when it comes to loans, mostly for the young people. Most people believe, me, to go get a loan? No. They think about the interest rates and all that. What can we do best to change the perception out there that it is okay for a young person out there to come and get a loan?
Actually, because you actually even hinted on that, but you hinted on how perception is something that is really.
She talked about it earlier on.
Yes. So as FinFort, we are trying to basically come up with ways to create more awareness, really, about how important it is for you to be financially informed. You know, because there is you looking up information on the internet. I mean, I used to be one of those people that used to look up information on the internet, and I used to be exactly those people that would say I can never take a loan. Never. Like, even if you told me right now that the interest rate was 2%, I would still say I cannot take a loan, you know? Until I got to FinFort, and then I met all these people who are experienced, and, you know, I got to understand that if you actually want to borrow, you cannot live without borrowing, right? But it wasn't just the borrowing, it was if you do decide to borrow, before you go to do the borrowing, right? If you have the right person in your corner to guide you from the first step, you know, on how much money do you need to take, and if you do take that money, which business ventures are the best for you to take during which season and things like that, which you might not get anywhere else, as opposed to FinFort. FinFort has from the first contact person all the way up to the core team, everyone has something to offer you. Everyone has information to offer you, which you would be surprised can be completely life-changing. Because when I was on the outside, I used to be part of those people that, and I didn't even have a genuine reason, by the way, for saying I don't want to take. I would just think about it and be like, no, I don't want, no specific reason, just I can't take money until I got to Finfort and I had people explain to me the right way.
So there is that kind of fear that
I'll also be honest, for my case, guys, I used to fear loans. Like,
You no longer fear?
I no longer though, because I heard someone told me that if you fear borrowing, there's no way you're going to get rich. Yeah. No one can stand the loan by themselves.
To have a lot of loan, like, is it debt? Debt. Yeah, a lot of debt. But one thing I want to ask is, why is it that it's really difficult to access financial services in this country, especially for a startup, for a young person, as a person working in the financial solution sector?
Okay. Talk about that would be basically trying to talk about both sides, both the traditional and basically microfinances. Of course, it becomes tricky to do startups, I would say, because you don't know this person's maybe repayment culture. You don't know if what they want to do will be successful anyway. You know, as opposed to if I met someone and they had maybe a business already in place, it's much easier for me to process because I can look at your bank statement and know, oh, this person has very good financial discipline, so they can afford to pay me back, or their business is doing well, so I can rest safe knowing that the money is going to come back to me, as opposed to startups. So usually that's where the problem comes in, that at the end of the day, as an institution, you have to think about, as this money is going out, how is it coming back to me? Or is it coming back to me anyway? So as you look at startups and trying to help the youth get started, you also have to consider that, will this...
You have to make profits either.
Not necessarily profits, but will I get my money back anyway? Yeah.
It's quite important that we understand, the structure of how we get these loans right away from the moment we walk into these financial institutions.
To a microfinance.
Yeah. Wow. We are loving this conversation with Mbabazi Patience, the marketing manager of Finfort, and of course she has quite a lot to tell us. But we shall be back shortly after this commercial break.